A woman takes a taxi in Taiwan for the first time. She asks the driver, "Do you speak English?" He doesn't answer properly. She presses again, "Can you speak it?" But there's no time for small talk. She tells him firmly, "Take me to the hospital." When they arrive at the hospital entrance, she pulls out a pistol and, with practiced ease, screws on a silencer. Without hesitation, she storms into the operating room mid-surgery, completely ignoring the doctor's startled expressions. She turns her attention to the brain CT displayed on the wall. In just a few seconds, she deduces the best possible treatment plan. The doctors stare at her in shock, confused by what they're seeing. Lucy explains flatly, "You wouldn't be able to save her anyway. The tumor has already pressed into the cerebral cortex and the spine." Then she sits herself on the patient bed, gun in hand, and demands the doctors operate on her immediately, without anesthesia. Under the pressure of the gun, the doctors have no choice but to comply. Minutes later, they remove half a packet of strange blue crystals from her stomach. Lucy casually identifies the substance, CPH4. The doctor freezes. He clearly recognizes it. Pressed by Lucy's cold questioning, he explains, CPH4 is a substance produced in very small amounts by women at the 6th week of pregnancy. Its primary role is to boost fetal brain development. Humanity, he says, owes its leap to intelligence to this very compound. It pushed our brains to around 10% capacity, setting us apart as the planet's only higher species. Lucy has just absorbed a massive dose. Her brain has already reached 20% capacity. Most people might be ecstatic at such a sudden surge of mental power, but Lucy isn't happy at all. She can feel death closing in. Not long ago, 4 packets of CPH4 were treated like a new drug by a gang. They surgically placed them inside 4 couriers' stomachs, planning to smuggle them into different countries. Lucy became one of the victims, manipulated by her scumbag boyfriend. She woke up with a fresh scar across her belly. After arriving in Taiwan, she was harassed by gang members. Instinctively, she fought back. Unfortunately, she enraged a thug named Wenshin. He slashed at her with a large knife, then kicked her in the abdomen over and over. A bald accomplice pulled him back, worried the beating would kill her. But Wenshin's furious kicks had already ruptured the packet inside Lucy. The blue powder leaked and was instantly absorbed into her bloodstream, spreading through every vein. The energy was overwhelming, crashing through her body. For a moment, Lucy's body was even pulled upward, defying gravity. Thankfully, the violent reaction didn't last long. Her brain had completed its first transformation. At 20%, she was no longer afraid. She became unervingly calm, composed, cold, like a machine. When the bald gangster swaggered in alone, grinning, he locked the door behind him. He thought he was in control, loosening his belt with a smirk. But Lucy turned her head, smiled faintly, and in the next instant threw him to the floor. His gun landed neatly in her hand. Despite never using one before, her brain processed the knowledge instantly. She understood every mechanism and moved like a sharpshooter. Without hesitation, she fired 6 quick shots, killing all the unprepared thugs around her. Then she moved on to her next objective, their boss. But her growing brain power placed a heavy burden on her body. She needed fuel. After eating and drinking, she noticed a bullet lodged in her shoulder. Oddly enough, she felt no pain. Calmly, she dug it out with her fingers and tossed it aside, barely giving it a thought. From a logical standpoint, she realized the CPH4 inside her had to be removed, or its effects would spiral into something worse. She hailed a taxi. Again, she asked the driver if he spoke English. He replied, in English, no wrong answer. Lucy raised her gun and fired. The terrified driver suddenly graduated into fluent English, speeding her off to the hospital. It turned out the drivers had already been hired by the gang, likely to transport her to a private clinic. So in a way, he deserved that scare. Leaving the hospital, Lucy experienced something new. She could see the sap coursing through tree veins, the energy flow of nutrients. It was extraordinary, but she had no time to marvel. Her brain cells were multiplying too fast. Without more CPH4, she would die. So she went straight to the gang's villa. From outside the door, she pinpointed guards through sound alone and shot them dead without entering. She slipped silently inside and found the boss who had organized her kidnapping. With cold precision, she stabbed him and pinned his hands to a chair, demanding the locations of the other 3 CPH-4 packets. The boss refused to answer, but Lucy was beyond intimidation. She pressed her thumb to his forehead, entered his nervous system, and read his memories directly. She saw each courier's flight ticket. From that, she learned the destinations of the 3 packets. Surprisingly, she didn't kill him. She simply walked out, leaving him behind. Back at her friend's apartment, Lucy researched everything she could on neuroscience. She discovered Professor Norman, a world authority. She hacked his home television and spoke directly to him. Calmly, she told him she had ingested far too much CPH. Her brain cells were multiplying by the millions every second. She was already at 28%. Now she could alter her metabolism at will, manipulate electromagnetic waves, intercept radio signals, transfer images to any device, even change the time on digital watches. But along with these abilities, she was losing her humanity. No pain, no fear, no desire. Knowledge from every field erupted in her mind. Quantum physics? Nothing. Applied mathematics? Trivial. The only real problem: her body couldn't withstand the explosion of brain cells. She would be dead within 24 hours. Lucy asked the professor what she should do. He had no solution. He could only suggest she pass on her knowledge, leave it behind for future generations. Put it into history, into school textbooks. Give humanity something to build on, and maybe give school children more homework, he half-joked. Lucy was inspired. If she was going to die anyway, she might as well die with purpose. She arranged to meet him in Paris in 12 hours. But first she had to find the other 3 CPH-4 packets. Without them, she wouldn't even last a day. Meanwhile, her incident at the hospital had made the news. The Taiwan police were after her. To avoid them, she altered her appearance, changing her hair and look. Then she contacted the Paris police, tipping them off about the 3 drug mules. At first, the chief didn't believe her. But when she calmly stated his name, pointed out the red pen beside his left hand, and even recited his private suspicion that the room might be under surveillance, he was shocked into belief. With her detailed intel, the couriers were all arrested before boarding their planes. On the flight to Paris, Lucy didn't rest. With one hand on a laptop, she consumed thousands of years of cultural knowledge, line by line, page by page. Her brain surged even further. When a flight attendant politely asked her to put away her tray table, Lucy simply looked at him. He froze, forgot what he was doing, and wandered blank-faced into the service area. But then Lucy's body began to collapse. Her teeth fell out, one by one. Coughs shook more loose. Her skin started dissolving, spreading to her hands and fingers. She rushed into the restroom, ignoring the stares. Her face twisted as her cells broke away from her body. This was the consequence of reaching 40%. Her body couldn't endure the growth. Her cells developed their own awareness, separating from her. She swallowed every remaining vial of medicine she had, stuffing it into her mouth, desperate. The symptoms slowed, but it was too late. The process couldn't be reversed. Somehow Lucy survived. Her brain had now reached 50%. From a hospital bed, she could see through walls, perceive everything around her. But there was no time to celebrate. She needed more CPH-4. Leaving the room, she ran straight into a police squad. With a flick of her hand, their weapons clattered uselessly. The chief stared in alarm, but Lucy simply asked him to take her to the captured couriers. Those packets inside their bodies were the only thing keeping her alive. On the way to the hospital, she sensed something through the cloud of cell signals around her. By filtering them, she detected the gang leader's plan. An armed rescue was underway. Ignoring the chief's objections, she shoved him into the passenger seat, took the wheel, and drove like a professional stunt driver. She drifted, swerved into oncoming lanes, leaving chaos and wreckage behind. The chief clutched the handlebar in terror. Still, the gang reached the drugs first. They retrieved the packets and aimed their weapons at Lucy. But none of their bullets touched her. She was untouchable. Terrified, the boss pretended to be paralyzed, too scared to move, while trying to save face in front of his men. With all 3 packets in hand, Lucy's mission was clear: find Professor Norman and pass on her knowledge. The professor had already gathered the world's top scholars. Many were skeptical of Lucy's claims, but she proved them wrong instantly. She read memories, manipulated her cells, changed her body at will. Every word she spoke overturned their understanding of science. These great minds, humbled, sat like schoolchildren in awe. Then chaos struck. The gang leader stormed the building with heavily armed men. The police, outgunned with only handguns, were no match. Lucy knew she had no time left. She ordered the scientists to dissolve the 3 CPH4 packets into water and inject them into her veins. Even with 4 IVs running, she felt the absorption was too slow. She forced it, inhaling all of it at once. Cells erupted out of her mouth, scattering like sparks, then rushed back inside. Her brain broke through again, but the demand for energy was colossal. Everything, organic, inorganic, became fuel. She consumed it all. The lab around her dissolved into pure white. Her brain soared to 90%. The gang leader seized a rocket launcher, fired, and the blast separated Lucy's consciousness from her body. Now she could move through time itself. She stopped it, slowed it, sped it up. She shot through the Industrial Revolution, rewound centuries, returned to ancient civilizations. She accelerated faster, until the forest around her became prehistoric. Lucy found herself in the Cretaceous, 80 million years ago. Dinosaurs ruled, and they were not welcoming. She retreated, rewinding time again. Suddenly, she arrived 3 million years ago, face to face with a hominid ancestor, Lucy, the famous fossil preserved in museums. The two Lucis, separated by millions of years, reached out. Their fingers touched. Ancestral memories hidden deep in cells surged through her. She traveled further, all the way to Earth's origins, witnessing the birth of the planet. Her brain reached its absolute peak. Back in the present, the gang leader crept up behind her with a gun. But Lucy vanished before he could fire. The police chief burst in and arrested him. Nearby, the supercomputer blinked alive. Lucy had fulfilled her promise. She stored all her knowledge into a USB drive and handed it to Professor Norman. Then her body dissolved completely. She was gone. The bewildered police chief looked around and asked, "Where's Lucy?" Then his phone rang.